Hi, good afternoon. Here with Nigel Ribbons from Ashdale Projects. How you doing, Nigel?
Very well, thank you. Good to see you.
And you, thank you very much for joining us on the Business Spotlight series. If you could start us off and just, give us a bit more background as to who you are, what Ashdale Projects do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Right, so I set up Ashdale Projects 15 years ago now, and it was after a period of time when previous contractor that I was working for had gone bust at the beginning of the financial crisis. I was left a little bit in limbo and not quite sure what to do. And a few sort of local friends asked me if I'd do some building work, some small building works for them. And because I didn't really have any other options, I took the work on, and from that, from recommendations from them and word of mouth through other contacts, the business just sort of organically grew from that point onwards, and we're still here 15 years later.
Fantastic.
So I
So
started off on my own, and
yeah,
there's now about sort of 10 of us in the business.
I'm going to say, how big's the team now? So you got 10 there. What do you think has been, I know you say organically grown there. What are the kind of, I suppose, values that you use to grow the business in order to organically grow or generate sales? What kind of makes you stand out from other developers, or why people come to you?
So I think we try to work very closely alongside our customers. I'm not a huge one for big fat legal contracts or anything like that. We try and work in partnership with our customers, and I think we spend a lot of time actually before we get anywhere near site, before the job actually starts. We spend a lot of time talking to customers, finding out what they want, and working out solutions with them that represent best value for money for them, and offer them the best solution that they can afford for their jobs. So we spend a lot of time up front,
Yeah.
and that makes a big difference when we get onto site, because we know what we're doing, the work is all properly costed, and the customers know what they're expecting. So that makes the jobs, or tends to make the jobs, run smoothly.
Great. I like the phrase used there, in partnership with our customers.
Yeah.
I've not over the kind of 2 or 3 years of doing this, not heard it quite phrased like that, but I really like that. So that's a good show.
Yeah. Well, my background is industrial commercial construction, which is very adversarial, working on multi-million-pound projects for local authorities, for governments and stuff, and they are very contractual, very legalistic, and it's really, as a contractor, it's all about trying to generate extras, delays caused by the client, and therefore you can make money on those extras and delays. And it becomes very much a situation where it's us as the contractor against the client, whoever the client is, and really not trying to necessarily produce a brilliant job that everybody's really satisfied with. It's purely about trying to make money. Whereas us at Ashdale, we're much more about trying to produce a really good job for the client, and as a result of that, they then recommend us to other clients or other potential clients, and that's how we get all our business. We don't really do any kind of external advertising or marketing. It's all through word of mouth. So having satisfied customers that we've worked with for a long period of time is really important to us, and I think that's the success of the business, really.
Good stuff. So what has your business journey been like then? We're talking about, the acquisition of customers through organic means and sort of value driven and purpose of the business. 15 years in the construction industry over the last few years, especially. What's the journey been like, say, in a word, and then expanding on that?
Don't know. We might have to pause the interview for me to be able to think that, actually.
Roller coaster, some people describe, or it could be like
Well,
just excellent and a fantastic journey, or
yeah.
how's it been, from a feeling point of view, I guess, as a business?
I I mean, it has had its little ups and downs and the odd bump in the road and stuff, but generally it's been pretty smooth, I think, actually.
Mhm.
Um, we've, as I say, I've been quite cautious in the way that I've grown and managed the business, and so I haven't tried, or I've actively tried not to expand too quickly and take too much work on. At times, we've had quite long waiting times for customers, up to 12 months before we can start work, because we've obviously got a lot of work in the pipeline. Um, and so, as I say, I've taken a relatively cautious approach, which has meant that I don't think we've made too many mistakes or had too many major hiccups as we've gone along. Um, Workloads to sort of go up and down depending on what happens in the economy,
Sure.
but be, we've generally managed to ride those out pretty well and smooth out the lumps and bumps, I think.
Right. It's not often that you hear a business owner saying it's been smooth and
Well,
all
you
kind
know,
of guided as expected. But yeah, it's good to hear, and sounding like you're, I suppose, creating a business that is for you more than what you think you should be doing, or perhaps going after silver bullets or growth at all costs and that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. I suppose I didn't really want to have to borrow a lot of money in order to grow the business. I didn't want to put myself financially at risk um, by doing that. So it has, to an extent, meant that it has had to be organic. But I think that's paid dividends for us in a way, because we're very comfortable with where we are as a business, and we're fairly sort of choosy about who we work with and the type of people, the type of projects that we take on, and the type of people that we want to work with. And it's taken us a few years, or took us a few years, to get to that position. But I think that's a position of strength with us. So we pick the customers that we think we're going to have a good relationship with, and we can do a really good job for, and also that they will really appreciate our service. That's the other thing. Doesn't
Important.
always work.
Well, life isn't
It doesn't work.
perfect, but yeah.
It doesn't work every time, but in most cases, it does.
Get it right. Well, as long as it's in most cases, that's good. So, looking ahead, what are the challenges? What are the opportunities that you kind of foresee for the business?
Okay. So the challenges, looking ahead, are, um, I think probably the biggest one is cost, in terms of um, our costs, material costs, labour costs,
Mhm.
construction costs have gone up a lot, and they've gone up. And I know inflation's been quite high the last couple of years and stuff like that. Construction costs, certainly, post pandemic, and particularly Russian invasion, has affected a lot of materials, cost wise, and so construction inflation has been much higher than actual UK wide inflation. And so I think the biggest obstacle now for us as an industry really is that customers don't understand that everybody's costs have gone up considerably, material costs have gone up considerably. And so customers have gone unrealistically low expectation of what building works cost, and
Yeah,
that's quite a big obstacle. So we've had a lot of jobs where they're either way over budget, or customers have sort of delayed doing anything, delayed starting while they raise more funds, and that sort of thing. Or projects get scaled down, so you start off with a grander scheme, which then gets scaled down. But it's normally customers waiting till they can afford it. Actually,
yeah.
that's what we find. People put off doing it. Oh well, we'll wait another year or so till we got some more money.
And does your pipeline, I guess, help with that? That people delaying,
Yeah.
then it
So
helps. So your
so
opportunity is to win that business, but just a bit further away.
that's right. So this year, so this time last year, we were sort of more than 12 months before we could start anything. So we couldn't start anything till sort of around about now, if you like. But that's been whittled down now, and so now we're in a position whereby, looking forwards, we can start work in the sort of like spring next year, rather than people having to wait a year. So from that point of view, it's been quite good. Slightly unsettling not having as much work coming in, through the door to start, but from the point of view of being able to meet customers' expectations about when we can start, or customers nearly always want to start as soon as we can possibly start. So from that point of view, it's been quite good.
Good stuff. Thank you. So moving on to yourself and kind of experience shared and your biggest lesson to date as a business owner, since you had to start off on your own 15 years ago, what would you say is the overriding lesson that you've kind of learned through building a team, building a business?
Yeah. So I would say, the biggest thing I learned was to be confident enough to say no to somebody or to turn work down. So not to have to feel like you've got to try and win every single job, at all cost, and trying to win jobs that maybe aren't suitable for us or aren't suitable for the customer, or not a good fit with the customer, and also not being scared of the competition. So in the early days, you're thinking, well, I can't let somebody else have that job because I might never get another job again. Whereas now we've got the experience and the confidence to say, well, actually, I had a phone call from somebody yesterday, in fact, who offered me an opportunity to go and look at some work that was outside our normal work area, and we've been fairly strict about what geographical areas we cover. And there are always exceptions to that. If it's an exceptional project, then we would travel a bit further outside our normal area. But and I spoke to the client and asked him a few questions about the job, but I didn't feel it was a worthwhile job to go outside our area for. So I just said, I'm sorry, it's not suitable for us. But to have the confidence to do that, it takes quite a lot of experience and quite a long time to happily turn down a job that I know probably would be hard work for us because it's 50 miles away from our office, which makes it much more difficult for us to manage and run. And also most of our lads are local. They don't want to be travelling 50 miles, and we don't want them to be travelling 50 miles either.
Sure. That's so that confidence comes out of experience, but I guess sort of knowing who you are and sort of what you're about, and having a sort of clear vision of what the business can and can't do in order for the longer term benefit.
Exactly. And it took me a few years to learn that.
A good share.
But I got there in the
end. Do you ever have some crazy requests and you just go in and say, good luck with that, thank you, but no thanks?
I can't.
Or do you kind of have let's see if we can do it, and in partnership?
I've had a few where I've looked at doing partnership type jobs, and I've done a couple of those, but nothing that I would think are sort of crazy ideas. Sometimes I look at jobs and think, I don't know why they're doing that, or they'll never get planning permission on that. And sometimes, jobs that I think they'll not get planning permission on sailed through, and other jobs where it's like, well, nobody's going to object to that, have been refused. So I've kind of given up second guessing what the planners are thinking. That's definitely a mug's game.
So what would you say is your inspiration to do what you do? Where do you sort of get the bit between your teeth on what you do, get out of bed for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always had a passion for buildings, interest in architecture, And my real sort of passion is restoration, I suppose, really. Restoration and renovation. So I love doing old buildings and bringing them back to life. Old buildings that have fallen onto hard times, and bringing them back to life. So that's what we really like doing.
So is that kind of period style buildings, or is it
Yeah,
any?
generally.
Yeah, excellent. Good
It's
stuff.
generally, I say period buildings. I mean, we do quite a lot of listed buildings and those sorts of things. Um, so those types of work, yeah, I'm talking period buildings generally. But any kind of restoration, renovation of an old tired property, it doesn't have to be that old.
Bringing something back to life is what
Yeah,
yeah, you like to see.
yeah.
In terms of
It's very satisfying.
yeah,
Sorry,
sorry,
I
go
was
on.
just going to say it's very satisfying from our point of view.
Mm.
Um, I think that's the thing with construction. It is, when you've done a really good job and you've turned round an old tired property, or you've improved a property, and the customers are really delighted. Does give you a really good feeling. So get a big kick out of it.
And do you drive past these places and say that's one of mine or that's one of ours? And
I've run out. I can't do that anymore. There's too many of them. Um,
yeah.
uh,
So
yeah, I do. I get a sense of pride about quite a number of the jobs. Yeah, I mean, I was quite heavily involved in rebuilding our village hall, for instance, in our village.
nice.
That's 13 years ago. I project managed that basically on behalf of the village, and I'm still a trustee of the village hall now, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction. That sort of thing.
Yeah. So
Um,
if someone was to come up to you, Nigel, and say, I'm starting a business, perhaps let's go with a construction business. What would your piece of advice be? You've shared some lessons around it, and it could be reflective of that, or it could be a piece of advice that you say comes straight to mind. If you're going to do it, here's my piece of advice.
yeah, so I think back to what I said before. Really, don't be afraid of turning down work, and stick with your values.
Mhm.
So um, try and work out early what you're good at, what you like doing, and stick with that, and don't be too diverted too far away from that, because you'll either run into trouble, um, or you won't get any satisfaction out of doing it if you're doing the wrong type of work.
Great. Love that piece of advice. Resonates and it definitely shines through from our conversation just now. So lastly then, in terms of any latest news about what you're up to with Ashdale Projects, or even as a case of sharing your website so people can get in touch if they wanted to, feel free to do that now.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd invite people to have a look at our website, which is www.ashdaleprojects.co.uk. And there's plenty of photographs, examples, before, during, after type photos of our projects, and yeah, I think that's probably the main driver
Well,
for our business. We don't generally do that much on social media, but we're an easy business, or an easy company to talk to. Pick up the phone and give us a ring, and we're very happy to have a chat about anybody's job and give them advice, whether that's right for us or not. We're happy to advise people on where to go to find an architect, or how to get a project from a set of plans off the ground and get started. So happy to
excellent.
talk.
We will share the link to your website in the description of the video for people to get in touch. Nigel, it's been a real pleasure talking with you, and thank you for sharing all those insights over the last 15 years. And I wish you all the best for the future of the business and where it may take you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, very nice to meet you, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.